Be strong.
Welcome to the newly minted show, Roster the People. My name is Jordan McDonald. Thank you for joining us on this Thursday night before football. And I am joined by, of course, my man, Jason, that FF Nerd Draven. Jason, how are you feeling about tonight's game? I'm sure you're not worrying at all.
You know, I just have all of my possible gear on, and I'm hoping for a good outcome. I think either way, we're going to have a fun game. So that's the most exciting part of this for me. This is going to be definitely a fun game to watch. I wish everybody was healthy on both sides. Just doesn't seem to be the case. But we'll get into that later.
Oh, it's great to hear. And we have another one of our co-hosts here. I'll call you co-host. Mike Manning's here. Mike Manning, how are you doing today?
Pretty good. Yeah. I mean, this is a great Thursday night matchup to have. They, as everybody has said, there's been the past four of them or something have gone down to the final minute of play or overtime. I mean, it's just two powerhouses in the NFL going at it, which you don't usually see on Thursday night. So good way to spend your night.
Yeah, exactly. You know, usually we get duds Thursday night. I remember seasons before they start off with a softball, I don't even know what examples, but getting something
Browns,
like this
Jets,
right
something
away.
like that.
Browns, Jets, since he was not as good, but it was Cincy Jacksonville. But this one should, take the cake. But, it's Amazon's first game, so you know that they want to go and start off swinging. But, yeah, we're here to answer your questions like we usually do. I know it's a different day. We used to do this on Thursdays. Also, you may notice that we were missing Jack. Jack has moved on, and yeah,
it's bigger, better things, but we also have an awesome new name. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah, but no, still the same show, still here to help you. But you know what? We were also here to answer your Thursday night questions. I'm sure a lot of people are panicking. Who do I start? Do I play somebody tonight?
Seeing a lot of Palmer questions today with Keenan Allen out, and that's not super surprising, but
that's the reason that people were excited about him coming into the season was a handcuff wide receiver, basically.
Yeah.
Behind two receivers that have missed games in the past.
Well, and as a wide receiver 3 for that team, it makes sense. But last week was just very confusing with how they distributed their targets. It was quite the shock.
Quite a lot of Carter.
Yeah, which I didn't understand at all. I mean, I guess I don't know. Because he's listed as a running back, which isn't true. But on everything I've seen, it says running back next to his name. And just well.
I mean, he's the wide receiver that came from, I think, Washington last year.
I'm just letting you know. I thought it was very odd, and so I was like, well, that's definitely an interesting way to see it and kind of unexpected. But even looking at the distribution, for his snaps, he was only out there 37% of the time, which is more than Keenan Allen ended up being. But Palmer was out there 75%, and that just blows me away that he saw that many targets and that small of a snap percentage.
So you're saying that this game, Josh Palmer's the wide receiver 2. Do we have any? Who do you want? Who do you like more though? Do you like Josh Palmer or do you like Gerald Everett as the number 2?
Oh, Everett.
Everett.
I mean, just because of how they're going to end up playing it, Palmer's going to have tougher coverage more than likely. I'm guessing that they're going to use their new-ish safety since they got rid of the Badger back there to bother people. They have a new safety that's probably going to be covering.
Just agreed.
Thank you. Williams, who he's just so boomer bust, and it's either he's going to put up 100 yards and 2 touchdowns, or he's going to put up 30 yards, and that's so risky that I'd much rather have the undercovered Everett without Parham there, since Parham is still dealing with, I think, a knee. Let me see.
I mean, I'm not even sure.
Hamstring.
They just put McDuffie on IR for their cornerback, the Chiefs. So they're down. I think he was their number 2, even starting off last week. But
yeah, and they also signed DiCaprio Bottle.
Okay.
I say you made that name up. You could have said anything, and I probably would agree with you. But DiCaprio Bottle, what a name!
that's why I said I wish these teams were healthy. I'd like to. That's the funnest part of this. I guess rivalry maybe. I don't know if it's really a rivalry, but at least the AFC West battle here, and it's just
they wanted
exciting.
to make it a rivalry. They're trying to ham it up in the media. Oh, it's Mahomes versus Herbert, and I remember before last season, Mahomes. Somebody yelled at him. He was at a golf game, and he was like, "Oh, what do you think about Herbert taking the division?" And then he said, "Like, I'll see it when I believe it." I think that's what it is. Literally how he said it. And they still won the division last year, so I still think it's the Chiefs to lose or to Chiefs to win, and we'll see if one of these other teams knocks them off their perch. But you know what? Let's get started with the news. We'll key in on this game. If you have your questions, please share them.
Looks like we have one coming.
Yeah, we do have one. Yeah. Devin Story asked, Allen Robinson, Hollywood Brown, or I'm guessing Cordell Patterson at flex this week.
That is tough. I mean,
I don't think you can trust. You can't trust Allen Robinson. If those are your three options, Robinson, he didn't give you enough to go off of. Anyways, let me hear what you guys want. What do you guys think?
Okay, I think your safe bet here is probably Patterson, just because of the constant usage, the fact that London is going to most likely play against Ramsey, and I think that Patterson is just going to have the easier matchup overall. Brown makes me excited, but I thought he was going to have a big game last week, and that Arizona Cardinal offense just looked lost, and so that gives me some worry. I mean, if you're going safe play, it's probably Patterson, but most upside, I would actually go with Allen Robinson because he was on the field a lot, and he was open a lot. He just wasn't looked at, and if McVay does what he does and realizes that, he might be a big play this week. Just depends on how risky you want to go.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Mike?
So, out of those three, I'm picking Hollywood Brown. Patterson, did he leave with an injury or is dealing with an injury at this point from last week?
Williams.
I'd heard rumblings, huh?
Damian
was the one that did? Okay, I heard Atlanta running back, and I didn't know who it was that was injured. But I wouldn't blame you for Patterson, but I think the Rams defense is going to come back with a vengeance this week. So I'm going to go Hollywood Brown because we just saw basically every pass catcher have a chance to light up the Raiders last week. It was a pick 'em. Well, Hollywood Brown is above and beyond more talented than any other pass catcher that's healthy
in that list. I mean,
on the Cardinals. So he got this Cardinals offense is going to get going. It's not going to be as bad as it was last week the entire season. We've seen them have bad games. I think that Kyler Murray is going to pick it up, and I think Hollywood Brown is not only the safest, but also has a good upside because I do think that game in general is going to be a high-scoring game. I could easily see the Rams Falcons game not being anything like last week with the Rams Saints.
I think the Rams are going to bounce back too. I'm so worried. Al Robinson, like, he was on the field the entire time, had 2 targets, and one was like a throwaway right at the end. And I was more mad about that because he was out on the field for so long and not getting any volume. Whereas like the Akers thing was the complete opposite. He wasn't on the field and just didn't have the opportunities. But just to finish it off, I think I will go Brown. I think he's got higher upside than Patterson does, even though Patterson pretty much owns that backfield now, especially Damian Williams. Even Damian Williams is playing. I don't really like. They love them some Cordell Patterson. I don't know why Jason is going to ride that until he dies. He's just like.
He's rejuvenated, man. It's like he's not going to die.
I would go Brown, then Patterson, then Robinson.
Oh, yeah, same here.
I wouldn't blame you if you did Patterson.
Yeah, neither would I. Robinson, for me, like, I'm going to have to wait and see. Like, if he goes off, then you're like, okay, it was one game. But, yeah, just the 2 targets scares me. I don't know why Stafford wasn't looking at him. We have another question. This one is for Jason. Cole Kmet or Everett? Full PPR. Jason, do you want to gush about your boy Gerald Everett again?
Yeah, absolutely, because that's been my option. I have him as a top 5 tight end this week, not wide receiver. He pretty much will be a wide receiver based on his fantasy inning. But yeah, I'm excited for him. I like Kmet. I think if this was standard, it'd probably be closer for me just because I do think Kmet will end up in the end zone. I'm not quite sure that happens with Everett. I mean, I'm hoping it does, but I just expect him to have 10 targets, and so I think that will give him a massive day already. I'm expecting probably to go 7 for 89 yards and be just fine and dandy.
How are you, Mike?
And I think that it's more a negative for Komet than it is even a positive for Everett. I do think that Everett's obviously got a good situation here going against the Chiefs that don't have Tyrann Mathieu anymore. They don't have any really good coverage linebackers or anything like that. So I could easily see Everett going off. But Komet's going against the Packers where they have Devondre Campbell and Adrian Amos. I mean, these are guys that are phenomenal coverage players last year. So it's Everett because of way more upside and even just a good floor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I completely agree with both of you. I'm a little worried about Justin Fields in that offense going into Lambeau against a very angry Packers team. I feel like it's gonna be a blowout. Like I really do. I don't think it's gonna be even close. I think you're right, Jason. I think Komet might be that like garbage time touchdown right at the end where they finally have a good drive and Fields leads them down. They get the only touchdown, but Everett, you like what you saw last week, especially without Keenan Allen, and Komet put up a goose egg. So I mean, just based off everything, Everett to me just seems like the overwhelming favorite for either of those. But yeah, any more questions, please throw them out there or answer your questions up until kickoff. And
JC Jackson is active.
He is active? Okay, there you go. So who do you think that impacts the most? Do you think he'll cover a lot of Kelsey? Do you think he'll go in the slot and cover Juju? Like how do you think that's going to affect the game?
I think it'll probably end up affecting more CEH than anybody else.
Mhm.
But outside of that, I'm probably going to guess Kelsey's going to get a tougher bump as he comes through the line there. And so, yeah, I definitely go Kelsey there just because we know that he's the threat that we need to focus on outside of, I guess, Juju would be the other one who saw a lot of targets. I do expect at least Hardman to get a touchdown because that's normally what ends up happening is we forget that he's on the field and off he scurries into the end zone, and it's one more frustrating things, but we'll hope for that not to happen. But it's gonna be a fun game. I'm just excited that this is a second week and I actually get to watch them. So I legally watch them. Sorry, got to make sure that's in there.
I don't know what that means, but all right.
I didn't either.
Well, there are groups that you're able to watch things without actually having to have TV or,
so you mean like literally like legal?
Yeah. I mean, I'll be able to watch like
okay, so
them on YouTube TV because
this wasn't just some
game.
like a JC Jackson eroticism that you were throwing out there.
Yeah, I was like so confused.
No.
Okay,
not at all. Sure. Golly.
I'll be curious. They might actually sit there and just have JC Jackson take away a side of the field instead because he hasn't normally gone inside, which is where Kelsey and Juju both spend a lot of their time, even though those are the top two options. It's just more of what JC Jackson's game has generally been is even though it's a top receiver moving inside, I don't think generally in his history with the Patriots, at least, he didn't follow them inside too often.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree with that. And like, plus like maybe he takes away like the big play game. Like, does he like cover up Valdez-Scantling so there's no, huge throws over the middle and they just take what Kelsey and Juju gives them? I know that's not really a great strategy to win, but we'll see. We'll see what he does. Is like Jason said, it's his first game with the team. Yeah, like we said, Keenan Allen not playing tonight, and we just mentioned the options there.
And even Isaiah Spiller again is inactive, which not super surprising, but man, that's a rough go for him. And the fact that you're going to see Sony Michel on the field, which why is he still a thing? I don't understand.
Fall from grace. He's had, but you know what? He pretty much won them a Super Bowl. I will admit that. I had him as my Super Bowl MVP that year when they faced the Rams. Even though I digress. Jason, where do you want to go here? We can talk about injuries in all other games, but what sticks out to you this week?
Do
you want to do?
I think the biggest thing is actually Tampa Bay. All the stuff going on in Tampa Bay right now is scaring me. The fact that they pretty much have no wide receivers at practice today is very suspicious, and this game just always is a huge trap. Brady has gone 0-4 against the Saints since joining Tampa Bay, and it makes me nervous that he's not going to have a weapon out there to throw to.
We have another question. It's from Will1 again. A-Rob, MT, which is, I'm assuming, Michael Thomas, Curtis Samuel, Henderson, pick 2 full PPR. I'll go with Mike on this one first. Mike, what do you think?
I'm going to go Thomas, definitely. And then I'll lean Robinson.
You are so confusing. You said that they're going to blow him out. What do you do to blow somebody out on defense? You run it with Henderson. You're so
but
close.
I honestly think that Henderson is going to secede to Akers some. It's going to become more and more like close together as the season goes on. So, I mean, if you want to go Henderson, it's fine. But I think that Robinson in a full PPR, I'll let them. I mean, the Saints wide receivers just tore them apart last week. So
again, but like I said, it's very confusing. You guys are giving me very mixed messages here. So I'll go Michael Thomas and Henderson. Yeah. I mean, I like Samuel, but again, the thing that I looked at that surprised me is the snap percentage. And Jahan Dotson outsnapped Curtis Samuel last week. It was just a higher distribution of targets went to Samuel. So it's definitely Thomas and Henderson for me.
Yeah, it's tough. Samuel, we don't know what's going to happen with those 3 receivers. Like you said, Jahan Dotson, more snaps, but maybe just because they know what they want to do with Samuel when he's out there. So I don't know if that's worth look. I know it kind of paints a little bit of a picture, but I wouldn't really worry about that too much. But again, we're 1 game in. Like we don't really have any real sample sizes.
It's very small.
I'll throw you a curveball. You know what? Just to be all over the place, I'll say MT and Curtis Samuel, just because I've already mentioned Allen Robinson. You don't know what you can get with him. Henderson, he was the lead back. Like, don't get me wrong, but he
didn't play well.
He didn't play well, and he did have 5 receptions on 5 targets. But I think that's more the fact that they did not have any other running backs out there. So Curtis Samuel, you like what you saw. They're playing another soft defense, it appears. So I think Curtis Samuel, which it's blasphemy, I know, because you want Robinson, who you probably drafted as a wide receiver 3. Even though I wrote up a whole thing on Robinson, so now I'm kind of.
I was about to say. I mean,
talked about it. What I saw on last Thursday was shocking. Why was he not Skoranek got 8 targets or something? Higbee got 9. What? And they were playing rookie corners. Buffalo was. So I don't know what the issue was. I don't know if Allen Robinson just looked lost. I'm just gonna say
you say that, but I would probably say at least 50% of the time he's wide open, and it's just frustrating to see that. Yeah. Why? Just okay. You're struggling to score. Give it to the guy who's wide open and hope for the best.
I'm kind of teetering back and forth now, but I think if you want to go,
I think there's going to be a big difference when it comes to the amount of time Stafford's going to have to process the field this week compared to last week.
Will1. Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Just going to say the Bills' defense is obviously one of the best pass rushes in the NFL, and we're going to the Atlanta Falcons, which has been the past 2 years arguably the worst.
Yeah, there's not
very different games for sure.
Sorry, Will just wanted to add on to that. I'm trying to sell Henderson for that reason also. I feel like Akers' role increases throughout the season. Yeah, he's got nowhere to go but up. So
man, I guess I'm just going to sit on this island by myself. I just don't see.
Well, you like doing that. You just love being contrarian, and then once you when the broken clock strikes twice, you run with it, and I respect you for that.
Davis Mills looked good last week.
That's true. Mike, is there anything of note that you want to mention?
Well, we were saying about for the Bucs and Saints game and how this matchup is just bad for Tom Brady. He's thrown 8 interceptions against the Saints in the past 2 years, and that's the most of any team or any quarterback versus any single team in that span. And by 2 interceptions, I'm pretty sure. So it's just they play terribly. This run game last week, I don't think that's going to be a fluke. They're going to run the ball a lot. I think that's going to be Todd Bowles' impact on this coaching staff of becoming the head coach. Is he's going to talk to Byron and say let's keep it on the ground a bit. Even with Fournette a little banged up, because he's obviously another one that's on that injury report. I think they're really happy with Rachaad White and what he did. So I don't think they're upset at all about anything in the backfield. They're happy with their backfield. They're questioning their health on the outside. And with how the tackles, well, at least there's Donovan Smith, we don't know if he's going to play. So Brady is not going to want to be back there for long. He's going to either do a quick passing game or put the ball on the ground.
Yeah, Fournette did actually come back to practice today. He logged a full practice today, but it is definitely something to keep an eye on just because I was assuming that yesterday was a rest day for him. You know, being that old guy and fat, you need to go and jog for a while. So, sorry. Everybody kept hyping that up, saying he's going to be so bad because he's fat, and yet here we are. He's going to be just fine.
He looked like a stud last week.
And it just makes me feel so good about all the people that just like slept on him. I got him in I got him at the top
in the second round so much.
Oh, I know. I got him in the third round, top of the third round, in a 12-man league, and I couldn't believe it. And it's a Rush Premium League, and I was shocked. And I was so happy what I saw. And Rachaad White looked really, really good when Fournette came out. Like it's kind of the Thunder Lightning thing. Like Fournette's a bruising back, and the Rashaad's a shifty. He was very slippery. Like he had guys like he had the Cowboys defense confused us sometimes. Like there's was it him or like Leighton Vander Esch like ran into his own teammate trying to defend the run? It was if I could find it, I'll show you. But yeah, they have a good backfield, and you're right. I think the Todd Bowles' impact is that they'll run the ball a lot more.
Yeah, Rachaad White's a top tier handcuff at this point.
Absolutely, based on what we saw. There's no Keyshawn Vaughn. I don't even know who else they have. Gio Bernard's still there. I'm pretty sure he's hurt.
Yeah, I think it was hurt. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the only reason I was even off on White is just the fact that they still had Gio there as kind of that guy to back him up, but he's still dealing with injury. That White looked really good.
Mustache anymore? They were like, "Nah, we can't put this guy on the field. We got you for the mustache and you shaved. This isn't gonna work."
Not part of the plan. You're out of it. But
all right.
And then Saints signed Latavius Murray to the practice squad. Like that.
I heard
Kamara's been and Kamara's Ingram and Kamara both are banged up.
I heard
Kamara's dealing with
thing.
Rib, but still that just blew me away on him. I guess it makes sense, but yikes.
Yeah, it's the Latavius Murray thing made me laugh. I always thought practice squad was like for like young players until up until a few years ago when they were putting like Jason Peters is on a practice squad. He's 40 years old, so really put whoever you want up there.
For any old veteran that's on the couch and you want to just get on the team and not on the field yet.
Anything else? Can I talk about Rodrigo Blankenship getting cut? I know that's what you guys want to hear. No, I'm kidding.
I mean, you might as well.
No, I agree with the move, and I just know that Josh Lambo, if they do sign him, is going to be Jason's favorite kicking streamer because he's got two things. One, he plays for an offense that maybe won't score as many touchdowns as you think, and they play in a dome, so automatically he's in Jason's top 5.
Winner.
Am I wrong? No, that's your criteria.
Usually that's how that works. If I know you're going to struggle to score, I mean, that's why I love Suck Up this week. Like, that game is just going to be a mess. I love Suck Up and I love Lutz. It's going to work out. And, I mean, it just makes perfect sense. Everything goes together.
All right, we're going to stray away from the...
Well, no. Let's stay with the Colts here. You're already there.
Or you want to go with the Colts? Okay.
You might as well go with the Colts.
I don't know why. There's nothing to talk about. I mean, you start Jonathan Taylor, you start Michael Pittman, and
do you? He hasn't lost. He missed practice today.
Well, I mean, if he doesn't play, but if he's playing, you're starting him. Like, you can't. No.
He had a limited practice yesterday.
If he is playing, you are starting him.
Yeah.
Don't get cute. Like, what are you gonna do? Who are you gonna put in there? He better play because they don't have Alex. They literally have nobody.
Yeah,
nobody on the
Pierce
is
dealing with a concussion, and then
he probably won't play. But he was bad. He dropped two touchdowns in the end zone. He wasn't great.
It was more frustrating for me. I was just sad for him because I was like, there's a. I mean, he has the opportunity and is banged up. So outside of that, Paris Campbell was on the field, I guess.
He logged a full game.
Surprising to me.
We're gonna stay away from the Colts because there's really nothing of fancy value besides those two guys. I want to ask Mike a question. How many snaps or snap percentage does Najee Harris play in the backfield this week?
Oh, that's a good question.
80.
Okay, that makes me feel a lot better.
That's just unless he actually does get injured during the game, there's no chance that Tomlin is going to actually keep him on a snap count.
Okay.
He'll turn it down like a little bit. Instead of 95, he'll be like 80, 85.
Yeah, I mean, last week he was at 60.
Because he left. Oh, well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
so he left for part of the game.
I'm just saying he was.
I watched an entire game because that's the game I had to do for work, and my God, it was. He was on the field before he was hurt. Like they brought Jalen Warren in for maybe a couple snaps, but it was the Najee show. He just didn't get featured. He was ineffective at first. He didn't literally, but Trubisky threw the ball more than I think they gave or handed off to Najee.
37 or 38 pass attempts.
Yeah.
But that also included overtime. I think the offense just struggled in general, which they're going to do. Mm-hmm. That's what's going to happen this year. Until this offensive line can find semblance of consistency and push. They were thought to be like a good run blocking offensive line, but a god awful pass blocking offensive line. They couldn't do any run blocking, which is what we saw for Najee. He had nowhere to go. And that's how he got hurt, was he had 4 players in the backfield grab him and bend him backwards over. So it's going to be tough because I think the Steelers offense is not going to be prolific by any means, obviously. And Harris is going to have to break a run to really get you a good day. He'll probably hover around 10 to 15 points most days. But if you want the 20 plus that you usually get from a first round running back, it's going to take a big run.
Yeah, I'm just more surprised that they didn't pass to him more. I mean, Freiermuth saw a lot of targets, but with Johnson having issues, I really expected them to pass to Harris more. So that was, I guess, the big surprise for me for week 1 from him.
I don't think that's part of Canada's game plan. It's not meant to be. So last year, Canada did it a lot more. So he had Najee Harris go out and kind of just stand to the side of the offensive line by the line of scrimmage as a literal dump off. That's it. It's not like he ran many routes. He was just basically a dump off last year. So I think that he didn't really want to have, and Big Ben just was like, oh, well, I don't want this ball anymore. So here you go. You take it type thing. So that's why Najee Harris was targeted so often. His average depth of target was probably even low for a running back last year. This year, I think it's more of, no, you're going to run the ball a lot. And we're not going to use you in the passing game because we want you to be able to run the ball a lot. So with the amount, and even Chase Claypool was a lot more involved in designed runs than I expected, certainly. So this is going to be a offense that is led by the pass catchers that are actually wide receivers and the tight end. It's going to be a short to intermediate type game with the occasional deep ball down the sideline.
Okay, so here's the other thing. We're talking about your team here. So what are your thoughts on Pickens?
I don't think he's going to, he'll have a couple catches a game, if that. He's not going to get involved yet. I mean, he had a stellar training camp. He looked great in the preseason, but early on in the season, his highlights are going to be when he pancakes a defensive back.
Yeah, that was my thinking on it, is just the fact that he is a rookie. He is a third wide receiver, but again, I just don't see them passing to him when they have Claypool and Johnson there. And so if you had him on your team, is he worth dropping, for example, maybe Palmer tonight?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd be fine with
That's where I was going. I'm like trying to apply it to that community, but that's somebody I've been suggesting to drop just because even though he's been on the field, I don't think he's the one going to see the targets.
No, and this isn't, if we're looking at the Steelers offense compared to the Chargers offense, when you look at a wide receiver 3, which is what Pickens is, he's a wide receiver 3 on a team, you aren't targeting a low passing volume offense. You're targeting a high passing volume offense. That's when you have the ability to get the wide receiver 3 and have production out of that position. So Bengals, Chargers, we thought Chiefs for years, but obviously that never actually came to anything. But the Steelers are going to be a run-first, run-heavy offense that isn't going to score 30-plus points. So why would you want to take the wide receiver 3 on that team? And Claypool looks good enough now that he's not going to be overtaken or something by Pickens.
And well, like you said before, too, if they're designing runs for him, then they have big plans for him. I don't see them taking him off the field unless he gets hurt, knock on wood. But yeah, that was a great breakdown of that, and I agree with the Pickens analysis. It's tough for rookie receivers. Like, I mean, he was a second round rookie. There like a lot of preseason hype, but once the season starts, they kind of target the veterans first. I think maybe second half of the season he kind of breaks out, but who knows? Like, it's an offense that it's going to be good at best.
Yeah, and at that point, you'll probably be able to pick him up off the wire.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, let's just be honest about that.
We have a question. Sorry.
Go for it.
So pick 2, half PPR: Antonio Gibson, Daryl Henderson, Kareem Hunt, or James Conner.
Half PPR. I'm going to go Gibson and Connor. Ooh, maybe not. I'm going to go Gibson and Henderson. It's close between those two. I just can't do.
You love why? Why do you have so much love for Henderson? I don't understand.
Because I think this game is going to be a blowout, and I think yes, I am. I will die on it all day, but that is my guy.
Oh my god!
I was pumped for him coming into the season. I think he's going to remain the guy, and so I'm picking him to play very well this week.
Henderson's the bottom of the list on.
Yeah, he is for me too. That's.
I would do Connor and Gibson, and then Hunt is like a close third for me. Then there's a gap. Then there's Henderson.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think Henderson's very close to Connor, but again, Connor, you drafted him probably RB1, RB2. Gibson's been a nice surprise, probably where you got him. Like, I know my brother has a team with Akers and Gibson, and he's like, well, thank God that I got Gibson because Akers spent a high pick on. But yeah, I would go Connor just because, he seems like the lead back. I know, Benjamin got a little involved, but he's the lead back.
That was a lot of the time after the game was out of hand.
Exactly. So it's
Connor was the guy until it got like a 30-point lead.
Yeah.
And on that same note, Isaiah Pacheco, all of his snaps except for 2 were in garbage time. So again, you have to take things as they come, but don't blow them out of proportion. Yeah.
Can't just
also
watch.
Half PPR Hunt is a little like I could see kind of if you want to go Hunt just because half PPR, like how many catches is James Conner going to have? Like how many did he have last week? Do you know offhand, or I can look it up?
I don't think I don't have it offhand. Let me see.
Because I know that he wasn't really.
I mean, the offense in general wasn't moving the ball at all.
It was ugly.
I love his rush, James Conner's rush stat from last week. 10 carries, 26 yards, touchdown. Just like typical James Conner numbers. He had 5 catches on 6 targets for 29 yards. So I mean,
that's more
not
than
bad.
Expected.
Not
that's
bad.
More than expected.
That's good. I mean, Connor's number 1 on that list to me, and then I'll go with Gibson because of the defense they're going against. I mean, we just saw DeAndre Swift tear them apart.
Yeah.
Both in the receiving game and the rushing game. We saw Gibson have a solid receiving game to say the least, especially.
And that's why I have him as 1. Like Gibson is the one I have locked in for sure because he is going to eat through them.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Kevin Bird, for that question again. If you have more questions, let us know. We are going to be answering questions up until kickoff, but just until kickoff, because if we go into the game, Jason,
I will lose my mind.
You will legitimately kill us.
I will just walk out and it'll be a black screen until you guys are done.
I'm trying to pivot off some. I'm just trying to think what else. Any big.
Well, what do you guys think about the Jaguars backfield? Thanks, Kevin. That's awesome.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks, Kevin. Thanks for watching. Jackson. Well, it's kind of a split, you think, right? Like James Robinson though. Impressed.
High praise.
He was pretty much written off.
Correct.
Well, not by us, but like the industry. Like I got him late in so many drafts because everyone forgot about him. Everyone thought ATN, even though ATN never played a single NFL snap before week 1, but he was the heir apparent to that backfield, which it didn't really seem like a really great opportunity because we didn't know what the Jaguars were going to look like. But this is what Doug Peterson does. He runs 2 backs. I think they both have value. Like, I mean, this week, maybe not against the Colts because the Colts actually, unless DeForest Buckner doesn't play.
Yeah, that was part of the reason I brought it up.
ATN could go off and Robinson be in the back seat, and it might just be back and forth each time. So you kind of had to pick your moment.
Well, what if I told you that ETN saw more snaps than Robinson? Would that surprise you?
No, not really.
I mean, this past week,
Robinson is just coming back, so that doesn't really bother me too much. I don't know if that'll change, but that could be just Robinson getting back up to speed.
I think he looked great.
If 2 plays went if ETN had caught a ball that was thrown to him on 2 plays, he had the massive day, and Robinson didn't even get the chance to run the ball into the end zone.
Mhm.
So like it just 2 plays. That was it. ETN was on the field, dropped a pass that was wide open. He seemed like it was mental stuff. It wasn't physical stuff. He looked fine that way. So if he just caught that ball and Robinson didn't have the chance to run it in for a touchdown, are we looking at it differently?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
For
I
sure.
mean, I'd expect that ETN's off the board at that point, but it's just one of those things that there are a lot of backfields that are going to be split, and people are just not even thinking about it. So it's just frustrating.
And then I like it's like kind of like the Brees Hall Michael Carter thing, where you could have got Brees Hall in the 4th or Michael Carter in the 13th, kind of the same way, 18 in the 4th, and you most likely you like what you're getting from Robinson.
But
Maybe,
again,
at least right now.
Yeah, what you're buying in Hall is what his potential is. What you're buying in Carter is the beginning of the year, in my opinion. He's going to have the first 5 or 6 games where he's great with Flacco, and then it's going to drop off when Wilson comes back because I'm worried that he doesn't pass to the running back, and both of them end up just being horrible, and you don't want either. So sell him if you can at that point, but it's just rough. I have that offense is another just weird one to me.
Is that the Jets?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like we don't know. I see again. Like I didn't get to see the game, but I saw the stat, like the box score, and Flacco threw 60 times, 59. But
yeah, and 20 of them were to the running back.
I would have guessed that he would throw the ball that many times, and Elijah Moore would have had a basically junk day. Whenever every other game that Flacco had played, even partial game with Elijah Moore had at least a touchdown plus 50-plus yards every time. So now, it was just insane to me.
Yeah. Like I said, it's very confusing. That offense is just one that always is a surprise because it changes, even our quarterback. I mean, it blows me away how different the team is when Wilson's in there as compared to Flacco, or even Mike White.
Mike White and Flacco are pretty similar in their style.
Oh yeah.
But Wilson's the only one that he completely negates everything that usually happens with literally all 3 of other quarterbacks that have played in the past year. He won't target the running back like you had said, and he always has that late hold on to the ball for as long as possible. Instead, chucks it downfield for usually Corey Davis.
Yeah.
So we got about 20 minutes to go, 23 minutes again. Get your questions in. Hey, we're giving you free advice. Unless you want to join our Patreon, which it's only $1 per month, but I mean, if you join the Patreon, Jason will literally set your lineup for you. That is one of.
I'll do whatever you need me to if you guys join the Patreon.
He will be your fantasy servant.
Anything not an actual person, I will help you with. I'm not going to come to your house and help you. Yeah.
Yeah, it costs a little extra. Then
I was like, I have to.
I love you guys put a
quick.
disclaimer out. Like people are like, you're like the fantasy fair that just poof.
I'm here. You're
on
welcome.
your phone, literally doing it yourself. Let me know if there's anything. Like, there's so many games and so many players that we can go through. I just want to see we could touch on the most.
You're talking about
ones.
the Jets. We'll talk about CJ Uzomah is on the injured. What?
I just said very important, and
I know. It is.
You love your fringe tight ends. I know.
Correct.
Sorry.
So Tyler Conklin has value this week if you're looking for somebody to pop on your lineup and have a decent game. I mean, with Conklin out, he's going to be on the field more, and clearly, if Flacco throws another 60 times, he's finding the end zone.
Yeah, who doesn't expect Flacco to throw for another 60?
Exactly.
If his arm can even hold up that long.
Against the Browns, it's going to be fine.
I think that game will be a little closer too. I don't know if he'll throw 60, but I mean 40's not out of the realm.
Well, the over/under on it is 39.5 with the Browns 6.5 point favorites. So
well, that you can take that as you were, but that's just the line. That really doesn't mean too much, at least to me. I have a question here. Here's a question I wrote down. So apologies to anybody who had Dak Prescott in fantasy. I mean,
yeah, that's rough.
That's rough.
We're sorry.
He seemed like a good option. He wasn't really going very high. He was what, third tier of quarterbacks, maybe top bottom second tier, top third.
They got a
Smith
Myers
being
in
out
10th
and now
round or
McGovern
something.
being out.
So my question is, how worried are we for the other players? Like, how worried should we be about CeeDee Lamb, about Zeke? Pollard did nothing. Pollard was a ghost.
Yeah, I think you cannot play Zeke unless the matchup is just worth every penny of it. I mean, it has to be a great matchup for Zeke to have relevance, and that's iffy. This week, I'm only playing Schultz. I might be convinced to do Lamb, but it's going to be Schultz for me.
I think you have to play Lamb. Mike's our resident CeeDee Lamb guy. I want his opinion.
Don't worry, I'm playing Lamb if I have him. But I mean,
you
if you're
have
looking
to.
at yeah, of course. Are you going to sit there and put your second round pick on your bench because of quarterback play? It's a tough thing to do. Like you draft wide receivers with terrible quarterbacks all the time because you believe in their talent and you think they'll overcome it. We saw Allen Robinson, DeAndre Hopkins, all these guys do it for years. CeeDee Lamb's a very talented player. We've seen it since he's entered the league. And we saw last year when Cooper Rush had his one game that Dak was out with his ankle injury, I believe, against the Vikings, a poor defense. He actually
Bad
played
secondary.
well. Yeah, okay, so he played well. Amari Cooper had a great game, and I think they're going to lean heavily on Zeke as much as they can because he actually looked well. Like he played great, but then they just went away from him because the offense in general was in shambles. So I'm actually okay with using Zeke. I'm okay with. I want to play Lamb because I think they're going to just zone in on him and be like, this guy's the only guy I'm going to be confident throwing to.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I agree with your Zeke thing too. Another running back that you probably drafted as your second. I think they're going to have to. I don't really think they have a choice. At not relying on the run game.
Oh, Gallup's coming back.
Well, that was the thing too. Like you can't start Gallup. Like Gallup, even if Dak was here, maybe if they looked a little better. But I feel like you can't start Gallup. You have to wait and see what his role will be this early on. Is he on a snap count?
If you're looking at the matchup last week, this Tampa Bay defense is actually a very deep and talented defense, especially in the secondary as well. Because they got, last year, they were injury riddled the entire year in the secondary. They were rotating through cornerbacks. They brought in old guys off the couch. They were doing everything they could. And this year, everybody was healthy. Everybody was ready to go, and they showed it. Carlton Davis played great. Jamel Dean played great. Sean Mayfield-Bunting was there. This is a good secondary that was just hampered by injuries last year. So I'm thinking that it's just you don't want to play often against the Buccaneers if you can.
Mm-hmm.
They were the number one run defense last year, and Zeke was still able to run on that team. But the secondary, it's another story. It actually came to play.
Yeah, and we're talking about Tampa Bay, right? And I really think, speaking of this matchup coming up, what Michael Thomas was able to do to AJ Terrell in the end zone gives me a lot of faith for Michael Thomas going forward. How he just completely bullied Terrell in the end zone, just carved out his space, and got 2 touchdowns out of it. Jason, where do you want to go?
I think we finished that game with the Bengals and the fact that Higgins, Higgins makes me nervous. I mean, he's still not practicing. He is progressing through the protocol.
Personal day, I heard.
Okay. I hope so.
Concussion, though.
Yeah,
that's tricky.
That's why I hate it. It makes me nervous. I mean, outside of that, I think, honestly, I was nervous because of the fact that the second he was out, I felt like they went to check down. I mean, Boyd, you saw get a lot of targets, and then Chase is going to be Chase no matter what with all the talent in the world. But I think Boyd actually becomes a very usable piece this week if Higgins is out.
Mm-hmm. Let me suggest this to both of you, and Jason, you'll love this. If Higgins doesn't play, do we have any faith in Hayden Hurst?
Mild.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing. You have him running underneath, and if they're only going to pass, I think it was 6.5 yards per attempt. I'm going to take that. I'm going to take the guy who's shorter than Chase. I mean, whether that's Hurst or if it's Boyd or Mixon. I mean, shoot, Mixon's going to go through the roof this week.
Hurst did, and of course this was after Higgins left. Hurst was third in targets behind Chase and Mixon with 8. So he actually 5 catches for 46 yards. I mean, if you were streaming that, and I don't know who streams tight ends this early, definitely not me. That's pretty good outing without a touchdown. At least PPR.
Yeah. If you're going that far down the tight end rankings in general, or the tight end roster of fantasy football, you're happy with that outing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that they should bounce back. At least Joe Burrow. I think Joe Burrow will have a bounce back game. I don't see him turning the ball over 5 times like he did against the Steelers. I don't really know what that was about.
Speaking of bounce backs.
Oh, goodness.
How about we go to the 49ers? Are we going to expect them to bounce back? I mean, last week they looked rough in that monsoon of a game, but Seahawks looked good.
The stadium looked rough. Everything looked rough.
They squeegeed the field.
Jason, we have a question for you from not Mike Manning, I assume.
No.
Jason, I asked you earlier in Fantasy Life app, Everett or Higbee. You went Everett. I know you love yourself some Chargers. Was that a love pick? LOL. 11 targets for Higbee, 4 for Everett.
Yeah, just because of the fact that Ellen is out, I do think that they are. I like Higbee, but again, I really think that they are going to hyper focus on getting Allen Robinson the ball next to Kupp. Kupp is going to get his 10 to 12 targets. I just expect more targets to go to Allen Robinson than went to Higbee, so that's going to be offset. I'm expecting the 5 to 7 targets for Everett for Higbee, while I'm expecting 9 to 12 for Everett this week.
So, are you sticking with Everett? Bill Rosenblum asks Everett or George Kittle. Now,
Kittle's that makes me nervous. He's going to be blocking, so I want Everett all day on that one.
That one's tough for me.
You got to decide now.
Yeah,
on information.
Go with the guy who's healthy.
I personally, I wouldn't do it. I would hold on to Kittle, and then I would I guess you can't really drop Everett.
It depends on who else is out there as an option on your waiver wire to be able to pick up if Kittle does find out Sunday he's not able to play.
Mm-hmm.
That's the issue there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, that's why I prefer Everett.
Let's say Hayden Hurst was on the wire, able to be picked up Sunday. Would you still go Everett over Hayden, even the chance of Kittle with the backup of Hurst? Because
I probably wouldn't. You know what? I probably wouldn't now that I'm thinking of it, just because Keenan Allen's out.
I think I'd go Everett.
Yeah. I think I would go Everett on this, but that's up to you. I don't know. Because you hate for Kittle being your bench and put up 20 points,
which you
that's just the risk you run.
Again, which he could do, but that was also with Jimmy Garoppolo. I'm curious to see how he works with a guy who's willing to chuck it downfield. I mean, I expect Debo to actually
Kittle can get the ball downfield.
Thanks,
nice.
guys, from Blitz for 6 on Fantasy Life. That's one of your guys, Jason.
Yep, he's there every week, and I love the support, and I'm glad he made it over here. Thanks
so
much,
that
man.
you were able to watch. We have another one. This is, of course, our audience loves or knows Jason's love. Renfro or Palmer for wide receiver 3. I would probably go Palmer on this. I think Palmer has a little bit more upside right now. Renfro, didn't really see too much.
I don't like Renfro this year.
The only way you might play Renfro is if it's a kicker punt return league. But even then, I'm still going Palmer. So that was a deep league, maybe. But again, the usage, Adams is clearly a dominant one. Waller just coming, or I guess not coming back, but actually signing a contract. I expect him to see more targets.
Contract extension.
Yeah, that's what I mean, But I expect he's going to really show out again. And again, they played the Chargers, who seem to really have Waller's number. So, and Derwin James actually said that Renfro is the hardest person to cover. His top 5 receivers to cover, that was his toughest was Renfro. It's just because he gets to a spot and is open. So that's surprising. Real life, good in football. Fantasy, not so much.
I remember I was watching your waiver show on Monday. You and Jack, may he rest in peace. And he said a good thing about Renfro, and he was like, Renfro is more of a better real football against those gritty yards, like the 2-3 yard first
down. If you're going for a first down, he is your man. He will battle for it.
But thank you, Joseph Martinez. So I think we're all Palmer across the board. Joseph also follows up quickly. Palmer or Dotson? Going after
I hate him so much. That's so brutal. Oh, I think I go with the higher scoring game here. But
Which
man,
is what?
even the
Which is what? That could be either game.
I know. Golly, that's rough.
Two good offenses and then there's two terrible defenses.
Yeah.
Nope. My brain's on fire. This is a tough one. I'm going to go with Palmer just because I do think he is going to be on the field more.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think this game is higher scoring than that one just because I think the offenses are better.
I'll probably go with Dotson on this one. I just think that I don't know, like Palmer could go off, but I don't want to burn a spot Thursday Night Football. I'm go for a dud, so I would just hold off. That's just me.
I go Palmer because I'm not chasing touchdowns on Dotson.
Yeah, but he was on the field a lot too. That's the only reason I was so conflicted on it is because in comparison, he was on the field more than Palmer last week. But I do think with Allen out, Palmer has a chance to be on the field more this week.
That one is tough.
It's a battle. That was a really good question. I really like that.
Thank you, Joseph, for that question. Kevin Bird's back with another one. Who's my best flex option? Gibson, Henderson, or Williams? Not sure.
I'm assuming that's Jamal, maybe.
Could be.
That's the only Williams
I think Mike would be considered a flex.
No, and neither would Javonte. So
Again,
let's assume it's Jamal Williams.
If this is a flex, I do not want to play any player today in your flex. Put him in a positional position, whether it's wide receiver, running back. Please.
So is your answer Henderson? I figure it's going to be.
It's Gibson.
Wait, here we go. It's Mike Williams.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh.
Well, I think it's
Mike
Mike
him in positional spot.
Yeah, but put him in a wide receiver spot. But I would say out of those three, it's Mike Williams.
Nope, I'm still going Gibson. I mean, I just think he's a safer option. And
yeah, you're either going to get the boom game, or you're going to get like 2 for 15 yards.
Yeah, and that makes me nervous. I'd much rather go Gibson for just the fact that I think that he's going to put up 10 to 15 points.
I think Gibson. I just don't like Mike Williams that much.
Mike has chimed back and he asked, when are we getting some apparel with your logo on it? I got the Jack Tank. Important Nonsense is great. Mike, that's
awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. Speaking of, if you haven't already, go to shopimportnonsense.com, shop.importantnonsense.com.
It's a perfect plug. Okay, yes. We're getting a bunch of questions here. We got about 8 minutes, so we're going to rifle through them as quick as we can. Matt D, Mooney, Julio, or Chark, wide receiver 3 in a PPR league.
I think I go Mooney here. I know it was rough last week, but I think he's going to see the targets. I would say Julio, but the fact that he has missed practice has me more nervous for him to play. And so that's throwing me off. I like the upside of Julio, but I do not trust it, so I'm going to go with Mooney this week.
I think it's going to be based on how this Tampa Bay wide receiver room gets on the field, like who gets on the field. If it is basically Mike Evans, who is also missing practice at points this week, and Julio, and then it becomes like all the way down to Brashad Perriman are the only ones that are available, then I'm going to go
Gage
Julio.
is actually trending toward playing.
I was going to say, okay.
He's back in practice today. So.
But just to Mike's point, though, look how many options they have. Like, is it going to be a you're probably starting Evans regardless, but the other three, like, is it a dart throw every week? Like, of course, Julio looked good, but he only had like 3 catches for 60 yards.
Yeah, I'm going to go Mooney.
I'm going to go Mooney too. I don't want to like discount Chark at all, but I think Mooney is the better option, at least safer. Joseph Martinez back again, second flex spot, James Robinson, Dameon Pierce. I think we can speak for all of us. Maybe not Jason, but I'm taking James Robinson. Dameon Pierce, the target or the snap share wasn't there. Seems like they like Burkhead at this moment. And it's a tough like I think the Broncos defense will keep that backfield, well, at least the run game, in check.
Yeah, it's Robinson for me. I just think there's too much upside in this game. And so I'd much rather go that over hoping that Pierce gets more higher snap percentage than last week. Because Burkhead, I mean, clearly dominated. So he wasn't great at running, but he had the snaps.
Yeah, we know what we're getting with Robinson. He's going to at least split the share of the backfield. And he's going to be the one that has at least the chances at getting. He's going to have some goal line opportunities, and he's going to get most of the carries. We know basically nothing about Pierce. We know he's going to be on the team. That's about the gist of what we know.
All right, that's a clean sweep. Kevin Bird is. Oh, so Diggs and I'm guessing AJ Brown are his receivers.
Yeah, you're okay. I mean, with those two starting, you might as well just put Gibson in there for the safe floor option. There's no reason to risk Mike Williams.
Yeah, because I'm going to assume his running backs are going to be better than whatever Gibson is, and
because you got him at the eighth, ninth round.
Yeah,
that's definitely worth it to me.
We got our first Twitch question right at the end, near the end. Abstract 824, 2 starters: D. Henderson, Zeke, Najee Harris, or CEH.
I am going to go Harris and Henderson here. Assuming Harris is healthy, and which I'm guessing he's going to be.
All signs are pointing towards that.
He seems positive about it.
It seems like it's more of the ankle than it was the foot that took the brunt of the damage.
It looked bad though.
Yeah.
Like
I thought he broke his foot when I saw that. I'm really glad he didn't.
For Bengals, it looked similar to when Le'Veon Bell screwed up his knee. I think it was Vontaze Burfict that did it to him, where he goes backwards like that, and it just legs get caught up underneath you. Didn't look good at all.
So who are you picking for your 2?
I'm going to do Harris and Zeke.
Yeah,
I'm going to trust Zeke's usage, and I know those guys are going to get touches.
Man, it just makes you so nervous without McGovern and Smith. Like that's so dangerous. I guess if they check it down to him, he could have a good game.
Well, I think too. I don't think they're going to make Rush throw 40 times a game, even if they're losing. I think Zeke, you're paying him so much money. He's such an integral part of that offense. You have to get him involved. And I'm not a big you need to run the ball. I just feel like that's just what they have to do. They don't really have another choice. CH, if those are options, I wouldn't risk playing CH tonight. Even though he could have a good game, had a good game last week, but those are my 2.
is at the bottom of the list.
Correct. Thank you. I'm like that. I'm off of CEH unless there's just somebody else that I'm struggling with. I mean, there's not a point in playing him just because it's 1 week. So, based on a year of data, it's not worth it.
I can assume, Mike, this question from Mike, CH or McLaurin, I'm going to assume that all of us are going to be Terry McLaurin.
I'm going to go Terry there.
Yeah. Golly, that's ugly, though. I wish he would have saw more targets. I mean, it's just frustrating.
You're hoping for a touchdown for CEH, and McLaurin, I know he didn't have the most targets last week, like we expected for him to be the alpha, but
he was on the field.
This Lions secondary is not the strongest point of their defense.
And that I was so tough, too. The Commanders was like, what are we going to get? Like, that was such a confusing game 1 where we're like, Jahan Dotson is like, everyone wants him in his lineup, and he could come out and have nothing next week. And Mike's, oh boy,
yeah, that's where we're at. That is for sure.
Yeah,
but looking at 2 years, if you're looking at the full picture, you want McLaurin over CEH.
All right, we have about 2 minutes left. Get your questions in if you're watching. Jason, if we go any further, Jason will murder us if he doesn't watch his Chargers.
I mean, I'm good until the 15-minute mark, but again, we're missing a lot of information potentially here that I could be enjoying for pregame. And so the things that I care about, I want to watch to make sure everybody looks good and everybody's healthy. And I'm excited to see JC Jackson on the field.
Oh, you're very excited. We established that pretty early on.
Yeah.
Hey, don't be a hater.
I'm not hating.
I celebrate your Colts.
I was acknowledging your love for JC Jackson.
Whatever fetishes you want, you can go ahead and knock yourself out.
Yep.
Hey, I'm still being just fine. Okay, we're going to be fine. We're going.
I thought you were drinking Mountain Dew.
That was earlier.
That was the pre-game. That was the.
Now we're on to the big cup.
Oh, okay.
No slurring your words yet or anything. So I mean.
Yeah.
It's still early. That'll be later if things go south.
Oh, back from the grave. Jack Kavanaugh.
What the heck? This Joker decides to pop on. I see how it is.
Jack chimes in with absolute studs. Thank you, Jack, very much. Obviously, this broadcast is not as handsome without you.
And those beautiful.
Not talking about you,
Vipers.
Mike. It's more me and Jason, but
I mean,
but
it's different.
We need you to put on pit vipers and a bow tie, Mike. That's what it needs to come down to.
next Halloween we all have to dress up as Jack.
A different version of Jack.
You got it. I'm in. I will find pit vipers and a mustache.
I'll have to shave,
Mike.
but
Thank you for watching. You are what makes this podcast go.
Otherwise, we just hear Jason talk to himself for an hour.
hey,
which you know what?
which you can do on Sundays when
you
I
do
do
that
my Twitter space. It's so much easier, and the app doesn't crash. I love Twitter for that. Thank you so much for giving me a space to talk to myself for 3 hours on Sunday mornings.
All right, boys. This was really fun. This is a great first episode of Roster of the People.
Is there anything we missed on that we should touch on before
probably.
moving on?
We probably did.
Probably.
Hey, you know what? This is more so like we want people to ask us questions. We want to hear your roster issues. We tried to, touch on the most important players or situations this week, and hopefully we were able to answer some questions, even if you, and like we said, if you want to talk to us more, make sure to sign up for our Patreon. It's Patreon.com/important nonsense. It's $1 per month. Honestly, it's well worth it. Jason will virtually set your lineups. He won't actually do it literally, but
yeah, I'm not going to come to your house or steal your login information or any of that.
But he is on call 24/7. So any roster issues you have, he will answer them, and it's pretty smart. I know that he doesn't really.
I don't come off the smartest, but I do okay. I mean, we're fine.
But with that, Jason, any final plugs or anything you want to say?
No, I think I'm going to bring it up just because I'm interested in it. Kayvon Thibodeau is expected to play this week. He's trending to playing Sunday. How much do you think that affects the Giants' offense?
With Thibodeau playing?
Wait, what?
Yeah.
How was it affected?
I mean, god dang it. Whatever. You know what I meant. My brain, like I said, not the smartest person, but I'll get there.
I was like, wait, the edge defender of how much he's going to affect the offense?
So I guess with it's against the Panthers. So I'm curious about how much that affects the game overall right now. I mean, he's going to be going after Baker, who we clearly saw had major issues already in week 1. Do you think that affects him more this week?
That was Myles Garrett and Jatavion Clowney. Now we're dealing with Kayvon Thibodeau in his first game and Azeez Ojulari. Is that who's on the opposite side for the Giants? Like, there's a difference in talent level in production in the NFL.
Are you worried about that O-line holding up for
I'm worried
Baker
about
and CMC?
Whoever they play, you should be worried about that O-line. I mean, Taylor Moton is a good offensive tackle, and Ike Ekwonu obviously is a top 10 pick. And so, he's going to eventually be a good player, but he was not good last week against Myles Garrett. Reasonable thing to have happen, but I don't think it's going to change their game plan in any way whatsoever. If anything, the thing that would change their game plan is if Matt Rule is fired, which hopefully he eventually is. Not calling for his job, but he's just not good at it.
Well, there's some people. Some people have referred to him as frauds on this show, like this guy once said. Love you too, Jack. On to bigger and better things. Mike, any last words before we depart?
Keep a watch out for tomorrow for Important Nonsense's wide receiver cornerback matchup article written by myself that has 3 players to target, 3 players to avoid. Yeah. It,
See, it's harder than you think, isn't it?
Yeah,
it is, yeah. So just keep an eye out for that. It'll be up for everybody to look out for DFS and for just season-long lineup changes.
So, for example, who was your favorite matchup last week, and did it work out for you?
Christian Kirk.
Huh. That's very interesting.
It was pretty good.
I think it worked out for you this week. So
and I said avoid Amari Cooper at all costs. That worked out pretty good too.
Just saying, you should probably listen to this guy. He does pretty well. It's in my link tree, Mike. So if you get on to the Important Nonsense, or the link tree, where you got this clearly, or you can just go to importantnonsense.com and it'll be there as well.
Mike also wants a nerd logo on his trophy, so he wants a shrine. He wants a shrine to Jason.
Yeah, the only thing I have out right now that is the Too Many Johnsons in the League shirt, which is slightly inappropriate, I guess. But it was a literal meaning, not a. You know what I mean? There's just too many of them. There's too many.
Yeah, you can't sit there and have too many Williams in the league. It just doesn't sound as well.
Yeah, it doesn't work. People need to have more unique last names. Like Okwebunam. That impossible to say, but it's still a very unique name, and you remember him.
DeAndre Swift's season right at the horn. We'll answer this quickly. Just started McKinnon in a 12-team full PPR league. Should be high scoring with more reception for McKinnon.
I agree.
It depends what your other options were. I mean, if you were... Yeah.
So guess what?
If you were desperate.
This is why box scoring gets you, okay? In the part of the game that mattered, the first half, McKinnon and CH split snaps. Yep. So, I mean, that's all you need to know. I think there's a great chance that McKinnon does just fine. Is a great, especially, 12 league, it's a little iffy just because you're expecting a high-scoring game. But I like the move, especially more for DFS. Would be the play here if you were doing tonight's game. Having McKinnon would be a good option to kind of throw out there to be contrarian. But
yeah, I don't know if I would have done it for a Thursday night player, but honestly, Godspeed.
Yeah. Hey, fun game. I'm excited to watch. That's the biggest part of this. I'm just excited to watch this, and it's going to be a blast. So.
And you know what? With that, I think we're going to end the broadcast. So thank you all for watching. Thank you all for joining along, asking your questions, and we'll be back here next week.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. You never know at this point. So
we just take it as it comes. Just hope for the best.
World out there.
Again, thank you so much, Mike, for joining us.
Yeah.
Had a blast.
Glad to be here. Always have fun.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. You guys enjoy the game.